Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video. And yesterday, I encountered what I am deeming the most toxic specialization in WoW PvP probably ever, and that specialization is the Blood Death Knight. I encountered this team that decided to combine a Resto Druid and a Fire Mage as the Blood Death Knight, and you're going to almost immediately start to see the toxicity as they've used one Death Grip to pull me off the Mage, who has now blinked with Alter Time, and now gripped off once again as I desperately try to hit my target. This Death Knight is playing Kultiran even on top of this to knock me away with that Kultiran racial. I finally get to connect to the target here with a Bladestorm, only to be met with another Death Grip. It is just endless grips from this specialization, and if you do even manage to connect for a moment, there are defensive cooldowns that will block your damage. We're doing our best to push through, but there's anti-magic shield provided by the Death Knight through Spell Warden as well as Iron Bark. We're actually surprisingly able to hit the Mage here. I'm line of sighting the Death Knight at the pillar, trying to avoid those death grips as long as possible and to stay on my target. As I get knocked away, I get stunned, I trinket, I go for another Bladestorm, desperately trying to claw whatever opportunities I can, but only to be death gripped immediately once again. Alter Time up from the Mage. He blinks back, resets his blink, blinks across the map, grips me back into the room. I try and spell reflect to Chains of Ice. My Druid's doing whatever they can to try and get this Death Knight off of me and get me onto the Mage, mostly because the specialization, not only is it going to be infinitely gripping you into the room, it is basically unkillable. As you can see, I'm just exchanging attacks with the Death Knight, who is 80 yards away from his team and not able to even move his health bar even a dent. So you combine the mobility of a Mage and the grips of a Death Knight, and you create this situation where you're basically in limbo, unable to really get anything going on in the game. But the thing is if the Mage ever does actually get away, they are doing very lethal damage, especially deeper into dampening. We're going to Bladestorm over that Ring of Frost and immune it and try and connect, and what do you know? Alter Time. Blink away, alter back. There goes one of my charges. Death Knight's in a clone, Mage is behind the pillar. They are doing what they do best, the most toxic strategy you can. Run around in circles and hope your opponents get bored and leave the game at that point. My Death Knight's doing what he can to try and run down the Druid, and we were really just trying to figure out what can we do against this composition to actually pull off a win, because basically this Death Knight just runs into a corner and decides to pick somebody, and that person is not playing the game. They're just going to grip them into the corner over and over and over and over, keep them Chains of Ice. I mean, look at this snare from this Chains of Ice. Grip me again into the corner, grip me again into the corner, and then, infinite grips. So we're going to just exchange some attacks again with the Death Knight and watch his health bar not even move an inch. I found it astonishing. I'd seen this strategy a couple times in the past, but it was actually competitively viable. We had lost to this team previously, and we were looking to try and figure out what can we do to possibly beat what this team is doing, because look at this. I'm just locked away in the Death Knight Azkaban for as long as I know here. I tried to leap away. I started trying to use Spell Reflect preemptively. I tried to pre-charge the grips to get to the target, but this Druid and Mage are just dead set on basically hiding in the corner while their Death Knight makes us miserable and unable to do anything. We finally do get to the Druid here, but he's in bear form. He's got bark skin. He's going to be very durable, and oh no, our friend the Blood Death Knight has made his way back to double blind us. We're doing whatever we can, but the anti-magic shield and the death grips once again from the Death Knight, you can see they're just swapping sides. They run to the other side of the map while the Death Knight switches into this entrance room and just grips us perpetually into the corner and prevents us from getting there. So our strat was to try and go after the Druid as much as possible. But you can see it basically, it's the Death Knight versus the Druid and the Mage, and it's not going too well for him. He has the anti-magic zone and IBF, just a combustion. We're not even really starting to ramp dampening at this point. We finally get back on the Druid. We're Bladestorming. We're using Ignore Pain during Bladestorm, maximizing that rage generation, getting a Storm Bolt, catching him out of bear form, sharpen blade up from that with Colossus Smash. We're going to force Iron Bark. Again, another defense is going to prevent us from connecting. We get gripped away. We get stunned. We're Chains of Ice. We're in the corner. We get gripped on our charge. And now I'm like, okay, what can I do? I got no mobility. I basically have to attack the Death Knight, try and hopefully maybe make the Druid think that he needs to come back. We're going to use Intervene. We're going to use whatever mobility that we can to try and get to our allies or our enemies from across the map, using Heroic Throw, maximizing our damage. We leap after the Druid, who's pulling us into this far corner. He's now going to trade Barkskin as their Death Knight makes it across the midfield. We get a Storm Bolt. We catch him out of bear form. We go for a Bladestorm again on the Strangulation. isolate, but he just doesn't take hardly any damage. He's just walking this off, stampeding across, double blind. Mage is already on the other side of the map, ready and waiting. And what do you know? This Death Knight just loves to grip you, just pull you in the corner. So we swap to the Death Knight for a moment, thinking like, hey, maybe the Druid ran too far away and there'll be something that we can do now. We'll get some pressure on the Blood Death Knight. And between the two of us, we actually got him quite low here. I believe that we procced his cheat death. To my understanding, the Blood Death Knight even still has cheat death, but he's got 1.7 million HP. And look at, we left the Fire Mage alone. We fell for their trap and I almost died. The Fire Mage popped combustion in the middle of the map by himself and just almost 100-0'd me with no crowd control. It was like, what is this? How is this possible? How is a Fire Mage doing this amount of pressure by themselves? There's no Mortal Strike. Kultiran punches me, haymakers me into the corner, stuns my Druid. It's got me Chains of Ice. I'm still just trying to get him low health to make the Druid have to come back. I got my charge off cooldown. I'm trying to Spell Reflect. I actually Spell Reflect the Death Grip, I think, right? Oh, not that one, but later on. And even still with a Spell Reflect on a Death Grip, or a charge mid-death grip, it's still impossible to move. It's just beyond the most toxic thing I have ever encountered so far on my journeys in World of Warcraft. And I have had very, good experience even playing things that are pretty toxic when it comes to specializations. The Guardian Druid era. This is like Guardian Druid meets Death Grip, basically here. So we finally get back onto the Druid for a moment, but the Death Knight's here. So we're like, okay, Ironbark's on the Druid. I'm going to swap off the Death Knight. We get some cooldowns from the Death Knight here as a personal wall. But again, he's kind of baiting us. They want us to hit the Death Knight. So if you encounter this composition on the ladder, they want you to hit the Death Knight because they want the Mage playing Glass Cannon to just free cast fireballs from max range and kill you through any amount of healing in the game. So you got to be really careful when you pick your moments attacking the Blood Death Knight. Otherwise, the Fire Mage is just going to run you over. We finally get back on the Druid again. We're triple stunning him, trying to get him down in that stun lock, but here comes Combustion. We got Die by the Sword. We can trade if we need. We ignore pain. We rally. We can use our Victory Rush here. We swap to the Mage, but Alter Time is up. What does that mean? He's going to blink away and then alter back and heal all my damage. So I can't attack him. Druid Wild charges away. Death Knight's gripping us in. We can't hit anything or connect. We managed to get the Druid gripped in. Fortunately, we have a Death Knight of our own, which may have been the only really saving grace in this type of matchup, is to have Death Grip against Death Grip. But here we go. Gripped on the Bladestorm, not connecting. So we're going to swap to the Blood Death Knight, and he's just healing through our damage with Death Strike. I think if you look at the healing at the end of this game, he's going to end up doing more healing than any healer in the game. I charge his grip here with Spell Reflect, and I'm thinking, oh my god, is this finally my moment? Am I finally going to get to do something in this game? And my Death Knight decides to go after their Death Knight while I'm on their Druid. So I'm shockwaving their Druid, sharpen blading their Druid, and keeping pressure. And this is where something astonishing begins to happen in this game, I believe. But right now, I can't really chase the Druid. I'm just dying. See, you see how the Fire Mage basically just kills whoever tries to chase the team while the other player's distracted. But I see my Death Knight going after theirs in a stun, and the Druid's drinking. So if I can crowd control the Druid right now, maybe there's some miracle that he can actually do enough damage. So I move to the Druid. I fear him. If he trinkets this, I'm getting ready to stun his trinket. We actually killed the Death Knight through IBF. So if you're not an unholy Death Knight, I don't think you can take out a Blood Death Knight. I mean, you saw me trying to attack this guy and basically getting nowhere, just doing absolutely nothing. This team will completely stall tactic you. It's a miracle that we managed to take him down in that position, but finally we were able to pull off a kill, catching that clutch moment where, hey, this Druid's trying to drink, and somehow my Death Knight's actually killing him. Maybe they got overconfident. I'd really much rather just never queue into this team ever again. We're going to see it on the scoreboard here in a moment, like what the breakdown is for this. So this Death Knight did 20 million healing. Surprisingly, actually less than the Druid in this game. In the previous round, the Death Knight ended up doing more. It's possible that my team attacked him more in that game specifically, but these specs are definitely good. Do not sleep on the tank specs, and they are certainly toxic. They are going to meet all of your expectations for toxicity when it comes to tank specs. You got to be ready and prepared to combat these animals, because I wasn't, and it was brutal. So I hope you guys enjoyed this urgent news update towards what is the most toxic specialization in WoW at the moment. And other than that, thank you very much for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one.